When I first got to my village in Tanzania, it was a whirlwind. I was experiencing the spectrum of emotions that one could feel. I was away from my home, what I knew to be true for the first time in my entire life. And being there was surreal in so many ways. But I was also terrified. I was excited but terrified at the same time. And I remember the first night I got there, I had a table and chairs, a little cooking stove, a few things to cook with, and I looked around this cement house in this village, and I cried my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out for an hour, cleansing and purging all of the things that I was holding on to, and I just let it out. And after I was done, I felt incredible.
When I first got to my village in Tanzania, it was like coming home again. Namibia the first time was like home, and Tanzania was even more so like home for me. And this time I got a second chance. I was able to, approach the Peace Corps with a higher point of awareness that I was gaining about myself throughout my healing journey and through cultivating the courage to actually return to Africa. And I settled in really easily, started making friends once again. I did keep to myself though more as I had just started this internal journey that was truly evolving.
In the beginning, for the first 3 months, my life was changing rapidly. I was seeing shifts that I never really had before. When I was working in the corporate world doing my thing, I didn't feel like I was growing. I felt so stagnant. But when I was there, living in isolation, it was one change after another. Boom, 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 boom. And every single day was different. I was learning about myself. I was learning who I truly was deep down inside. And that couldn't have really been discovered unless I took time to isolate myself and be in solitude.
It was difficult, though, to be alone again only 5 months after my sexual assault in Namibia. I think I underplayed how many things would trigger me into post-traumatic stress episodes. So there were some days that I wouldn't even leave my house to go to the nearest town to buy groceries because I was feeling intimidated by maybe the men that would hang out at the corner of the street to catch the dala dala, the car ride in. So, there was a lot of healing to still be done that was only revealing itself to me while I was there. And that was difficult. There were times where I felt completely alone and isolated. I had so many Peace Corps friends, but I was sometimes afraid to reach out to them because I didn't know if they would understand what I was going through. So I had to really face my own darkness. I had to face my recent past and super distant past with the emotionally abusive relationships. It was all just coming up and boiling over the surface. I had no choice but to really look inside of myself.
I was learning about my resilience, my strength, and my courage. I was learning about patience. All of these key things that were to shape my life later on were so, so important to me. And through this experience, all of these qualities came to life.
What's interesting is there was a point in my evolution where I had recognized that I was continuing to date emotionally unavailable people. Even in the Peace Corps, I was connecting with other Peace Corps volunteers who had some dependency issues on certain vices, or they just weren't quite fully present. And it took a lot of courage in me to admit that perhaps I was creating this pattern. So there was one night where I wrote a letter to someone that I was seeing. I never did end up giving him this letter, but I wrote a letter it was a declaration to the universe that I was no longer an energetic match for these types of relationships. And in fact, I wanted to create or reawaken to the parts of myself that would, that my true self, that would align me with the types of relationships that are a reflection of that purity and that love and that joy. And as soon as I wrote that letter and made that declaration, I think it was just a month later that I'd heard about Christopher. And it was through a synchronistic chain of events that I ended up in Dar es Salaam for some medical treatment and ended up meeting a bunch of his Peace Corps volunteer friends in his group that I otherwise would not have met or known because they were spread out all over the country. And was looking for someone to go with me to travel during New Year's Eve to a festival in Zambia and Zimbabwe. Someone overheard the conversation and said, "Hey, I know someone who's going. Here's his phone number." Little did I know, I would end up marrying this man. And a week later, we ended up meeting in the capital city, Dodoma of Tanzania, at a Peace Corps gathering for Halloween. And once again, it was like coming home when I met him. It felt so familiar and comfortable and safe, but also terrifying and intimidating, because something told me that this was it. This was the person that I would want to choose to be my life partner. And I saw finally, for the first time in my life, an opportunity to invest my emotions and myself into someone who could actually give me back what I was giving him, and could actually walk alongside me independently, so that we could both embrace our authentic journeys instead of forcing each other into this box that we expect our partners, our loved ones, to fit into. So for me, it was a breath of fresh air to realize that my declaration to the universe was stated, and it was also manifesting in that moment.
I was with one of my friends, Chris, and we were just exploring the town, and we ended up going to this gathering, and I saw Sara for the first time. The funny thing is that she didn't know which Chris that she was about to meet, because we had talked beforehand, but she didn't know which one was which. And when she found out it was me, I just remembered this warm embrace, like this angel was hugging me. It was the most serene feeling that I've ever felt in my entire life. And 5 minutes after talking, it was so natural. And I turned to my friend Chris, I said, "That's the girl I'm gonna marry." And right then and there, my heart sank, because those words rang true to my core. And it was crazy, because people say when you know, you know. I didn't really understood what that meant, but right then and there I did.
And I know that I was an energetic match for this. This wasn't a stroke of luck. I wasn't blessed. It was myself who had been doing the inner work, myself that had been letting go of all the things that was taking up space and cluttering the truth of who I am and who I deserve to share my life with. So all of this excavation of my fears, embracing my shadow, and just continuing to ask those deeper questions helped me to align with someone like Chris, because he was also at the same point of his journey, little did I know. So not only did we co-create this experience of meeting each other, we were perfectly ready at the exact right time. And don't get me wrong, we did not have everything figured out. We still don't. Everybody's evolving. But when we met, we knew that this was the opportunity we would have to go even deeper inside and continue answering those questions that we had been asking for so long about the bigger picture, the universe, and our deeper truths.
I was going through this process of decluttering myself, of shedding the old, making way for the new. And through this journey of self-discovery, by going deep within and by getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't serve us or serve me at that time, it was so important for me to do all of that work before meeting the love of my life.
So it's interesting, because when I met Chris, I felt this overwhelming sense of joy and love and familiarity, but it also dug up all of my insecurities, all of my past insecurities. Am I good enough? Am I really worthy of him? Is this something that is just going to turn sour in a couple months? Is he hiding things from me already? Is he a drug addict? All these things from my past experiences, it just kept coming up and boiling over. And this created the opportunity for me to look even deeper into my fear of this intense relationship that I knew was about to demolish everything that I knew to be true about myself, about the world, and everything else. So it was intimidatingly strong. Because these fears revealed themselves, though, I didn't run from them. I didn't always cope with them in the best way, but I was learning. And through that process, I was able to learn what was really scaring me about this. And I knew it was because my higher self was guiding me into a relationship that was not going to stay safe and cozy, but rather challenge me and him to continue stripping away all that no longer served our highest good. And that can be terrifying at times, but it's been an amazing journey.
When Sara and I first started dating, there was a lot of different insecurities and fears and worries that were coming up, because when you have such an impactful feeling meeting the one, I almost was a little terrified. I was so excited and exhilarated, but I was terrified at the same time. Like I almost wanted to run. But at the same point, I was ready to dive in deep and dive into the trenches with her.
I knew that the love I had for Chris was different than the love I'd had for people in the past, because I wasn't using him to fill a void. I wasn't putting expectations on him to make me happy, to make me fulfilled. In the past, that's what I thought love was. But with Chris, I didn't have to try. I didn't have to be something I wasn't. I could just let go and allow. And there were hiccups in the road where we both had to learn how to embrace each other's authentic journey. But the most important part was that he saw me for who I was and am, and continue to evolve to be in truth. And from that point, I felt free and continue to feel that freedom. So this to me is a testament of what true love actually is, not one in which we try to control each other and make each other be something that we want them to be and change ourselves to be what they want us to be, but to instead embrace that truth and that authenticity in its fullest.
My love and the feelings that I felt for Sara were completely different than anything that I've ever experienced in my past through casual or long-term relationships, because there was this deep resonance. It's a feeling, it's a heart resonance, it's a soul resonance that I felt on such a deep level, and she felt it as well. And not to mention the same interests, the same values, and the deep philosophical conversations that we shared, diving into all aspects of life. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
So needless to say, my entire life changed. You know, before I ever went to Africa, I had no clue what I was supposed to do or be. And with Chris, it didn't matter. I didn't have to know who I was becoming. We could just be present with each other and allow that journey to unfold. And through that short time period, we'd recognized our passion for personal development, for spirituality, for holistic wellness and living. So from that point, I changed, but I didn't change into someone else. I just let go of everything that wasn't actually me that I thought I was. I took off all of those masks, and from that, I began to find myself.
My life changed after meeting and starting to date Sara in so many miraculous ways. This unfoldment started to happen within ourselves and within our relationship. We were just diving and jumping off the cliff into the abyss, not knowing where we would go, but feeling so comfortable, secure, and safe in that feeling of being able to dive in together and walk this journey hand in hand.
And fast forward 5 years later, it feels like we've lived an entire lifetime together. We got engaged on Zanzibar, beautiful island, came home to United States, started our business, got married, traveled South America and other places, and we most importantly just continued to inspire each other to keep pulling back those layers to find our true selves. And it's a continuous process that we're always exploring together.
It's this journey of exploration, of unfoldment that is happening every single day together. And we're so excited to be able to bring this to you now.
Especially because we have dedicated these last 5 years intensely to pursuing our passions of life coaching, herbalism, whole food plant-based nutrition, spirituality, holistic wellness, you name it. We have just dove head first. And not only have we helped so many people continue their path of self-discovery, we want to broaden this and make this more available to people like you, so you can be on the comfort of your own couch, watching these videos, asking yourself the questions that you need to ask yourself to find out who you truly are at the core.
And really the purpose of all of this is just to inspire you to move beyond your fears and start paving the way to a life that is infused with happiness, purpose, passion, joy, and love.
Because you are capable, you are enough, you are perfect as you are. We just need to all keep letting go and allowing. Oh, and I forgot, I'm pregnant.
Look at this baby bump.
So our lives are changing drastically, and we're really excited to let you in on our journey too, as we continue to excavate our fears and insecurities and strengthen our passions and joys as well.
So if you're curious to know more, you can follow us on YouTube, find us on Facebook at Soul and Wonder, on Instagram at Soul and Wonder Love, and of course, if you want more delicious, juicy content, check out our podcast, Soul and Wonder Podcast, on Apple, on Spotify, and a ton of other platforms.
We're excited to be here with you guys.